Your legs are not getting weaker because you are lazy. They are getting weaker because aging shuts down specific muscles most people never train. Muscles that control balance, reaction time, and the ability to stop a fall before it happens. And by the end of this video, you are going to see why one simple movement activates those hidden stabilizers better than traditional squats ever could. If you're serious about taking better care of your health, make sure you subscribe. I share simple, practical advice designed especially for seniors. And feel free to leave a comment telling me where you're watching from. I appreciate every one of you. Let's get back to it. I want you to think about something for a moment. Think about the last time you moved through your home without thinking about it. Not carefully, not slowly, not with one hand trailing along the wall just in case. Just moving freely without negotiating with your own body first. For a lot of people watching this right now, that memory is further away than they would like to admit. And the frustrating part? It did not happen because of one big event. It happened the way most important things happen. Slowly, quietly, and without a single moment you could point to and say, that was when it changed. One season you were walking the neighborhood after dinner, then the walks got shorter, then they stopped. One year you carried the groceries in from the car in 2 trips, then 4. Then you started waiting for someone else to do it. And somewhere in between all of that, without any announcement, without any drama, your legs stopped being something you relied on and became something you worked around. That shift, that quiet, invisible shift. That is what this video is about. My name is Dr. James Cross. I have spent more than 30 years working with older adults, men and women in their 70s, 80s, and beyond, who came to me not after a catastrophic event, but after a long, slow accumulation of small surrenders. A staircase avoided here. A social event skipped there. A life that had gradually contracted around legs they no longer fully trusted. And every single time, the conversation came back to the same thing. Not heart health, not blood pressure, not the long list of conditions we tend to obsess over as we age. Leg strength. Science backs this up in a way that should make every person over 60 stop and pay attention. Research on age-related muscle decline shows that adults over 70 can lose between 3 and 5% of their lower body muscle strength every single year, without any targeted intervention, quietly, continuously, whether you feel it or not. The CDC calls falls the leading cause of fatal injury in older adults. But what that statistic does not tell you is that most of those falls were not accidents. They were the final result of years of unaddressed muscle loss that nobody caught early enough. Here is what makes this genuinely urgent. Most seniors trying to fix this problem are using the wrong tools entirely. They are following advice built for younger bodies, exercises that compress aging joints, strain thinning cartilage, and demand a balance system that has already quietly changed. Squats, heavy resistance, train harder. After 70, that approach can quietly accelerate the very problem you are trying to solve, which is why today we are doing something different. 5 exercises, ranked, designed specifically for how your body actually works right now. And the one at the very top of this list, it looks almost too simple to take seriously until you try it. Let me tell you something that took me years of clinical work to say out loud. The fitness industry was not built for you. Not for your joints, not for your recovery time, not for the specific and very real ways your body has changed since the decade those exercise programs were designed in. It was built for younger bodies chasing bigger muscles. And somewhere along the way, that advice got handed to older adults with a simple instruction attached to it. Just do less of it. Fewer reps, lighter weight, same movement. And that is exactly where the problem begins, because the issue was never the amount. The issue is the movement itself. Here is what actually happens inside an aging joint when you perform a traditional deep squat. After 70, the cartilage cushioning your knee joint has thinned considerably. It no longer absorbs force the way it did at 40. Your tendons have lost some of their elasticity. Your muscles take longer to generate force and significantly longer to recover from it. And your proprioception, the internal system that tells your brain where your body is in space, has quietly become less precise. Now, take all of that and load it under your full body weight. Drive your knees forward over your toes, descend toward the floor. For a younger body, that is a strength exercise. For a body navigating all of those changes simultaneously, that is a stress test. Research supports this directly. Studies comparing high-load resistance training with neuromuscular and balance-based functional training in older adults have consistently found that the functional approach produces better real-world outcomes, better walking stability, better fall prevention, better confidence in daily movement, with significantly less joint strain. And yet, squats remain the default recommendation. Why? Because they are simple to explain, simple to demonstrate, simple to prescribe, but simple to prescribe is not the same as right for the person receiving it. I have sat across from too many older adults who came to me frustrated, discouraged, and in pain, not because they had been lazy, but because they had been working hard at the wrong thing, following instructions, pushing through discomfort, doing exactly what they were told, and their knees were paying for it. Here is the shift I want you to make today. Stop thinking about leg training as something you do to your muscles. Start thinking about it as something you do for your entire movement system, your joints, your tendons, your balance reflexes, your nervous system, and the relationship between all of them. Because after 70, the goal is not to build a body that performs in a gym. The goal is to build a body that performs in your life, on the stairs, on uneven ground, getting out of a chair without bracing yourself against the armrest. That requires a completely different kind of exercise. And exercise number 5 is exactly where we begin. So, let us talk about stairs, not climbing them, not avoiding them, just standing at the bottom of them, looking up. Because for a lot of older adults, that moment right there, that brief calculation before the first step, tells you everything you need to know about where your leg strength actually is. Not how much weight you can move in a gym, not how many steps your fitness tracker counts in a day. That moment of hesitation at the bottom of a staircase, that is the honest measurement. And what I have noticed over 30 years of working with older adults is this. The hesitation does not begin because someone had a fall. It begins long before that. It begins when the body quietly loses something most people do not even have a name for. Control, not strength in the way we typically imagine it, the kind that pushes and lifts and powers through resistance, but the deeper, more foundational kind, the kind that holds, the kind that steadies, the kind that keeps you stable during the split second your entire body weight transfers from one leg to the other on a 12-inch step. That is what exercise number 5 trains, and it is called the stair hover hold. Here is why this movement matters before we even get into how to perform it. A study published in the Journal of Geriatric Physical Therapy found that isometric lower body training, exercises that create muscle tension without actual movement, improve both muscular endurance and balance stability in adults over 70 within just 8 weeks of consistent practice. 8 weeks, not a year, not a decade of gym sessions, 8 weeks of the right kind of effort. The reason isometric training works so powerfully for older adults comes down to something called stabilizer muscle activation. When you move quickly through an exercise, when you squat down and stand back up at a normal pace, your larger, more dominant muscle groups tend to take over. They are stronger. They are more efficient. They do the job. But your stabilizers, the smaller, deeper muscles responsible for joint control and balance, they get left behind. The stair hover hold forces those stabilizers to do the work, all of it, with nowhere to hide. Here is how to perform it. find the bottom step of a staircase. If you do not have one available, a sturdy low platform works equally well. Stand directly in front of it with both feet flat on the floor. Now, place one foot up onto the step. Do not climb. Do not push yourself up to standing. Instead, begin to rise and then stop halfway. Hold that position. Body suspended between the floor and the step. Weight distributed between both legs, but shifting progressively onto the raised foot. Stay there for 5 full seconds. You will feel your thigh working immediately. You will feel your hip engaging. You will feel the small muscles around your knee and ankle making constant tiny adjustments to keep you steady. That is exactly what you want. After 5 seconds, lower yourself back down, slowly and with full control. Then switch legs and repeat. Start with 3 repetitions on each side. As your control improves over days and weeks, extend the hold to 8 seconds, then 10. Now, here is the detail most people miss entirely. The slower you lower yourself back down, the harder your muscles are working. Researchers have consistently found that the descent phase of any lower body movement activates stabilizing muscle fibers more intensely than the rise, which means the part that feels easier is actually doing more. Remember that, because the next exercise takes that same principle, targeting what has been quietly weakening underneath the surface, and moves it somewhere most seniors would never think to look. I want to ask you something personal. When was the last time you thought about your ankles? Not your knees, not your hips, not the joints that get all the attention in every conversation about aging and mobility. Your ankles. Specifically, the muscles at the very front of your lower leg. The ones responsible for lifting your foot cleanly off the ground with every single step you take. If your answer is never, you are not alone. And that is precisely the problem. Because while everyone has been focused on building stronger knees and more powerful hips, one of the most critical muscle groups for safe walking in older adults has been quietly switching off, losing signal, fading into the background of a body that has learned to compensate around it. And the compensation has a name most people recognize immediately when they hear it: shuffling. That shortened, flat-footed gait pattern where the foot barely clears the ground with each step, where the toes drag slightly instead of lifting cleanly, where a slightly raised edge of carpet or a small crack in the pavement becomes a genuine threat. This is not laziness. It is not poor posture. It is not something that just happens randomly with age. It is a direct consequence of weakness in the tibialis anterior, the muscle running along the front of your shin, losing its ability to dorsiflex the foot, to pull the toes upward, to clear the ground properly during the swing phase of every step. A 2021 European study found that targeted strengthening of the tibialis anterior significantly improved walking mechanics and reduced stumble-related instability in adults over 75, not marginally, significantly. That muscle is the difference between a clean step and a caught foot. And exercise number 4 trains it directly. It is called the toe lift walk, and it is almost insultingly simple until you actually try it and realize those muscles have been asleep for years. Here is how to perform it. Stand near a hallway wall or sturdy surface you can touch lightly for balance if needed. Begin walking forward, slowly and deliberately. But with every single step, lift your toes as high as they will go before your foot contacts the ground again. Not your knee, not your whole leg, just your toes. Pulling upward, aggressively. It will feel exaggerated, almost theatrical, like you are marching in slow motion. That feeling is the point. You are manually reactivating a neuromuscular pattern your body has been quietly abandoning. You are sending a signal down a pathway that has grown dim and turning the volume back up. Continue for 20 to 30 seconds at a time. Rest, then repeat twice more. The first session Many people feel those shin muscles burning within 10 steps. That burn is not damage. That is a muscle remembering it exists. And when it remembers, your walk changes, your foot clears the ground, the shuffle begins to disappear, which means the trip hazard that used to wait for you on every uneven surface starts losing its power. Now, we are moving deeper, because the next exercise looks like it requires almost no effort at all. And that is exactly what makes it so extraordinary. I need you to forget everything you think you know about what a strength exercise looks like, because what I'm about to describe to you involves no movement whatsoever, no standing, no stepping, no lifting. You are going to sit in a chair, and you are going to get stronger. I know how that sounds. I have seen the skepticism on people's faces when I first introduced this in a clinical setting. The folded arms. The polite nod that really means, surely you are not serious, but stay with me. Because the science behind what happens in your muscles during this exercise completely reframes the way most people understand strength, and why so many older adults feel weak even when their muscles have not visibly shrunk at all. Here is something that rarely gets explained outside of a rehabilitation context. Muscle loss with age is not always about the muscle itself disappearing. Sometimes, more often than people realize, it is about the brain. Specifically, it is about the connection between your brain and your muscle fibers. The neural signal that travels from your motor cortex down through your nervous system and tells a muscle fiber to contract, to engage, to produce force. With age, that signal weakens. Motor unit recruitment, the process by which your brain activates muscle fibers, becomes less efficient, less complete. Your muscles may still be physically present, but your nervous system has quietly stopped calling on all of them. Research on neuromuscular aging consistently shows that older adults recruit fewer motor units during voluntary contractions than younger adults performing the identical movement, meaning the same effort produces less force, not purely because of muscle loss, but because the brain-to-muscle communication pathway has deteriorated from disuse. That is why some seniors feel profoundly weak in situations where their muscle size does not fully explain it. The signal has gone quiet. And exercise number 3, the seated resistance push, is specifically designed to turn that signal back on. Here is how to perform it. Sit upright in a sturdy chair with both feet flat on the floor directly beneath your knees. Now, press your feet downward into the floor, hard, as though you are trying to stand up, but you are actively refusing to let yourself rise. Push for 5 full seconds, then release completely. Rest for 3 seconds, then push again. That tension you feel radiating up through your thighs and into your hips, that is neuromuscular recruitment happening in real time. Your brain relearning how to fully communicate with muscle fibers it had quietly stopped reaching. Repeat this 6 to 8 times per session. No equipment, no gym, no risk to unstable joints, just a chair and the deliberate focused act of reconnecting your nervous system to the muscles it has been underusing. Simple. But do not let the simplicity fool you, because the next exercise takes everything we have built so far: control, ankle strength, neural activation, and introduces the element that rehabilitation specialists consider the most dangerous gap in most seniors' physical fitness: sideways stability, and why one step in the wrong direction can change everything. Let me tell you something that changes how most people think about falling. When we imagine a fall, we picture it happening forward, a trip, a stumble. Something catches the foot and the body pitches ahead. But the falls that send older adults to emergency rooms most frequently, the ones that fracture hips, that trigger surgeries, that permanently alter the course of someone's independence, those falls happen sideways. A slight loss of balance while turning, a misjudged step reaching for something on a shelf, A body that leans just a few degrees past the point where the legs can catch it. And the reason those sideways falls are so catastrophic is not just the angle of impact. It is that most older adults have never once trained for sideways instability. Not a single exercise. Not a single deliberate movement in the lateral direction. Almost every conventional exercise program moves the body forward and backward, up and down, linear, predictable. But life does not move in straight lines, and neither do falls. Research published in the American Journal of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation found that lateral stability training significantly improved balance recovery reactions in older adults, meaning the body became faster and more reliable at catching itself before a fall could complete. That is not a small finding. That is the difference between a stumble and a fracture. Exercise number 2 trains exactly that capacity. It is called the side step reach. Here is how to perform it. Stand beside a sturdy chair with one hand resting lightly on the backrest for initial support. Take one slow, deliberate step directly sideways with your outside foot. As you step, extend your opposite arm outward, reaching away from your body at shoulder height. Pause in that position for 2 full seconds. Feel your hip, your core, your ankle, and your standing leg all communicating simultaneously to keep you balanced in that extended position. Then return to center, slowly, with complete control. Repeat on the other side. That reaching arm is not decorative. It serves a precise mechanical purpose, shifting your center of gravity laterally and forcing your stabilizing muscles to respond dynamically, just as they would need to in a real moment of balance recovery. Your glute medius, the muscle on the outer edge of your hip responsible for lateral stability, is the primary driver of this movement. And in most sedentary older adults, it is profoundly undertrained. Strengthening it does not just improve your balance in a clinical test. It improves your body's ability to catch itself in the fraction of a second between a stumble and a fall. That fraction of a second is everything. Perform 10 repetitions on each side. Move deliberately. Never rush. Because what comes next is the exercise that brings everything together. Strength, balance, coordination, and something even deeper than all of that. We have arrived at the top of the list, and I want to be honest with you before I describe this movement. When most people see it for the first time, their reaction is almost always the same. That is it. No equipment, no resistance band, no complicated sequence of movements. Just a person, standing on one leg, tapping their foot to different points around an imaginary clock. And yet, when researchers measure what is actually happening inside the body during this exercise, the findings are extraordinary. Balance-based functional training has been shown in multiple peer-reviewed studies to improve lower body strength, coordination, and fall prevention outcomes in older adults faster than isolated machine-based resistance exercises. Not because the muscles are working harder in the traditional sense, but because the nervous system is being trained simultaneously alongside them. That distinction matters more than almost anything else I will say today. Because here's the truth about how falls actually happen. They do not happen because a muscle was too weak in isolation. They happen because in one unpredictable moment, one fraction of a second, the communication between the brain, the balance system, and the legs broke down faster than the body could recover. The single leg clock. TAP trains that communication directly. Here is how to perform it. Stand behind a sturdy chair with both hands resting lightly on the backrest. Shift your weight onto your left leg. Now imagine a clock face on the floor around you. Slowly tap your right foot forward to 12 o'clock. Return to center. Tap sideways to 3 o'clock. Return to center. Tap behind you to 6 o'clock. Return to center. Every tap, every return, every tiny postural adjustment your body makes to keep you balanced on that single standing leg, that is your nervous system being retrained. You're stabilizing muscles being recruited in patterns that mirror exactly how the body must respond during real moments of balance disruption. Start with 3 clock sequences on each leg. Move slowly, deliberately, without rushing toward the next tap. As your balance improves over days and weeks, reduce your grip on the chair, fingertips only, then one finger, then hovering just above it. The progression is the training, and here is the element that makes this exercise truly extraordinary. It does not just build stronger legs, it rebuilds trust between a senior and their own body. The quiet internal confidence that says, if something unexpected happens, I will catch myself. That trust, once lost, changes everything about how a person moves through the world, how much space they occupy, how freely they live, and it can be rebuilt, 1 clock tap at a time, because strength without balance is incomplete, and balance without strength is fragile, but trained together, deliberately, consistently, and with the right movements, they become something else entirely. They become freedom. I want to leave you with something that has nothing to do with exercise. Over 30 years of working with older adults, I have sat with a lot of people at a lot of different stages of this journey. Some came early, curious, proactive, wanting to stay ahead of what they could see coming. Others came later, after the fall, after the surgery, after the moment that divided their life into before and after. And the ones who came later almost always said the same thing. I thought I had more time, not dramatically, not with self-pity, just quietly, matter-of-factly, the way people say things they genuinely wish they could go back and change. I am telling you this not to frighten you. I am telling you this because you are here, right now, watching this video, which means you still have time. And that changes everything. Science is unambiguous on this point. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new movement patterns and neural connections, does not stop at 70. It does not stop at 80. Studies on muscle adaptation in older adults have confirmed that the human body continues to respond meaningfully to the right training stimulus well into the 9th decade of life. Your body is not finished. It is waiting for the right signal, the right movement, the right consistent daily effort that tells it, we are not done yet. 5 exercises. That is all today asked of you. The stair hover hold, to rebuild the control that keeps staircases safe. The toe lift walk, to reawaken the muscles that keep your feet clearing the ground. The seated resistance push, to reconnect the neural pathways that age quietly severs. The side step reach, to train the lateral stability that catches you before a fall completes. And the single leg clock tap, to rebuild not just your strength, but your body's deep, instinctive trust in itself. You do not need to master all 5 today. Start with one, the one that felt most relevant, the one that revealed a weakness you had not fully acknowledged before, the one that made you think, yes, that is exactly what I have been noticing. Start there. Show up tomorrow and the day after, because the body does not transform in a single session. It transforms in the quiet accumulation of consistent days. Small efforts that compound into something remarkable over weeks and months. That is how confidence returns. That is how staircases stop being something you calculate and start being something you simply climb. That is how the world stops contracting and starts opening back up. Strong legs were never really about fitness. They were never about gym performance or athletic achievement or any of the things the fitness industry spends most of its time talking about. Strong legs are about your morning walk, your grandchildren on the floor, your own front door, and the freedom to walk through it on your own terms. Protect that, because that is worth every single second of effort. Thanks for watching all the way through. Staying informed is key to living a healthier, longer life. If you want more simple, practical health advice, make sure you subscribe and tap the next video on your screen. And before you go, leave a comment and rate this from 1 to 10. Your feedback helps me create better guidance for you.